Hey, how you doing, everybody? It's me, your handsome lad, Waddles. Have you found yourself in the market for one of the best slime farms in Minecraft 1.21? And even better, easy to build, super efficient too? Well, great news, I've got you. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to build my freshly upgraded slime farm for Minecraft 1.21 and beyond. Without further ado, if this tutorial helps you out, you enjoy it, tap that like button, subscribe for more farms all the time, and let's check this out. Of course, there's only one spot that we could begin. Materials for this Minecraft to Java 1.21 and beyond slime farm. In exact amounts at the top of the chest right here, 16 of the almost fully oxidized copper blocks. Now in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to build yourself a crafter condenser to take all of your slime balls and turn them into slime blocks. After all, you can decraft them later. The fence gates, you will need to use one of the two non-burnable types of fence gates, so nether one. And then building blocks, bad news, great news. The great news, any building block will do that doesn't let light through, so dirt, cobblestone, you're valid. However, you will need 18 and about 3/4 of another stack of building blocks, so I'm sorry. In the end, when you're rolling in slime though, I promise you it'll be worth it. Now some other supplies that you might want to have optionally, maybe some scaffolding to get up and down, something to fill your composter up with, some sort of power source to provide some power to your copper bulbs, and maybe a slab. I'll show you where at the end. Now great news, if you're looking to pick this farm apart, get up close and personal, channel members, there's a world download for the exact farm that we'll be building in today's tutorial out right now on the community tab. For a little bit more info on that, subscribe and then tap join. Location. Like how it goes for almost any other farm in Minecraft, we want to get the spot just right. Every single Minecraft world is built up of 16 by 16 block areas called chunks. Now some of these chunks, indistinguishable from other ones, are considered slime chunks. Great news, slime chunk, you don't need to worry about it for this farm. You see, for this farm, to make it a little easier, instead of using slime chunks deep under the ground, all you're going to need to find is a swamp biome. Slime have this really cool mechanic where inside of a swamp biome or mangrove swamp, if the light level is dark enough, they'll actually be able to spawn. One little extra thing, totally optional, any swamp biome is a great swamp biome. However, if you're gonna AFK at this farm overnight, if you can find a swamp biome near an ocean, it might make your life a little bit easier. Now there are a couple of things we're gonna do before we properly kick our build off. But first things first, we're gonna make sure we're on the surface of the swamp biome. More specifically, anywhere between Y51 and Y69. If you build this farm outside of those ranges, slime won't spawn. Now the footprint of this farm is going to be something like approximately 31 by 31. So after you picked a spot inside of the swamp, in between Y51 and Y69, it might be a smart idea to run around and clear out some of the trees. Or if you're working with an area that is a little bit more watery, that means you might need to come back in here and start constructing a platform out of spawnable blocks. For that reason exactly though, that's why I like to try and find a spot in the swamp that is like, for the most part, dry land. You know, something looking like this right here. For now, though, really, just focus on clearing out some of the trees. Take care of the trees a little bit, and then it's officially time to kick off your build. Pick a spot on the ground. Anywhere on the ground will do. That is going to be the center point of your farm. Place a block down on the ground, and then place 4 wall blocks around that block. Now from this center block right here on the ground, digging down 1 block, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to go ahead and do that in every single other direction as well. This little spot right here that we're starting to dig out is essentially the beginning of our slime funnel. Now that we've gone out 4 blocks in every single direction from that center block, go ahead and finish this off by squaring out to the corners and removing all the blocks. A little bit of digging later, and now we have something that looks like this. A 9 by 9 area on the ground that is lowered by 1 block. But 1 block isn't going to be enough for our slime funnel. Instead, we need to lower this thing 5 blocks total. So that was 1, this is 2, 3, 4, and then last but not least, 5. Go ahead and dig down 5 blocks, clear it all out, all over this entire area. Now, a little bit of great news, it's not going to be all the building blocks that you need, but if you're doing this in survival, it will be some building blocks. Maybe you could, like, I don't know, repurpose them for the walls of this build later on. Also, if you care about aesthetics, you want your slime farm to look good, then this is the time to worry about them. Go ahead and swap the blocks out on the wall, the floor, whatever you want to do. Totally optional. So a tiny bit more digging and terraforming, beautifying later, I now have an area that looks like this. Still 9 by 9, but now 5 blocks going down into the ground. Dead center on the floor, like in the floor down here, place a hopper facing down. On top of that hopper, place a sign. On top of that sign, place a temporary block. Now, around your temporary block, it's time for those non-burnable fence gates. I hate to do it to you, but yeah, unfortunately, that means you need to use the nether wood. If you use the plain wood, they will burn. Because we're going to pull out this temporary block after we get those fence gates in and open them all up and dump a bucket of lava on top of the sign. The fence gates and your sign should contain all the lava. The very final thing you need to do in this low pit before you get out of it is a water bucket in every single corner. By placing a water bucket in each corner, we'll create a current that'll push everything to the middle. So now our center pit for getting rid of the slime is actually pretty much finished. Back up top here with some temporary blocks, start bridging out over the gap and carefully place a temporary block sitting above the one that you placed earlier, then an iron block, and one final iron block right here. Now before we put the pumpkin on the top, go ahead and remove that iron block, back up a little bit, jump up, and place a pumpkin. Just like that, the golem should drop down onto that center block, and because we have walls right there, the golem is trapped there forever. Alright, so next up, with that center contraption set up, all we really need to do is build some walls and a ceiling on this thing, add a little bit of light. On the ground up here, find the dead center of one of your sides and count out 10 blocks. Onto that 11th block, place a block down. Then slide over to another one of your sides and do the same thing. Count out 10 blocks. On the 11th block, place a block down. After that, surprise, surprise, we've got a square, do it on the third side. If you happen to have land that kind of goes down a little bit, you might want to consider starting to fill that in, build the stuff up. And then last but definitely not least, after you've done that whole 10 block, place a block down on the 11th one thing on the 3 other sides, do it on your final side until you have something that looks like this. After that, it's square time, and from the center, build out with a solid building block that will not let any light through. Build out from one side, build out from the other side until eventually you meet in the corner. After that, go ahead and swing around to the other sides and do the same exact thing. If you happen to have land in the way that goes up, you're going to need to dig that land out. We want everywhere inside of our farm to be flat. Now, good thing to note, the blocks that you have as the floor inside of your farm technically do not matter. As long as you have a spawnable block, so something like glass, that's not really going to work. But as long as you've got spawnable blocks inside of this thing, so like grass, dirt, that's fine. And just like you had to do if you have a hill inside of your farm, if you have a low spot inside of your farm, you're going to need to fill those blocks in and build it up. So after you've smoothed out the land inside of your farm, maybe removed all the plants, and most importantly, built to the first layer of your walls, connected it all the way around this thing, now that you've done all of that, you're almost done, kind of. Next up, you're going to want to go ahead and build your walls up all the way around this thing, 2 more blocks. In total, all the way around your farm, your walls will end up being 3 blocks tall everywhere. And again here, very important, make sure the blocks that you're using for the walls of your farm here today are blocks that will not let any light through at all. Alrighty, so next up, now that we've got our walls 3 blocks tall all the way around this entire farm, let's worry about the light before we put the ceiling on. In the center, find a corner. That's going to be 1, that's going to be 2, that'll be 3, and then finally 4. On the 4th block in, place a copper bulb down to the ground like I've done like this, and then turn that bulb on. Now, for these bulbs here, it's very important that we're using the almost fully oxidized one. The name of that one is going to be waxed weathered copper bulb. Make sure your bulbs are waxed as well. So 3 blocks out from the corner on the 4th one. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 right there. Make sure that bulb is on. Go over to the next corner. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 right there. Make sure the bulb is on. And surprise, surprise. So 1 final time. 1, 2, 3, 4th one, bulb is on. Now our next placement for copper bulbs will be all the way in the far outside corner. That one's pretty easy. So now with all of those in, we've used 8 copper bulbs. Final placement on every side is a little bit more tricky, but find dead center, line yourself up with the golem, turn around, go to the outside wall. Then, instead of placing a bulb right there, we're going to go 1, 2 from that spot, and on the 3rd one in the ground. Then we're going to go back over to the middle and do the same exact thing on the 3rd one, place it in the ground. Make sure both of those bulbs are on, and just like that. Go to the center of the next side, and do it again. Center outside of the next side, and again. And last but not least, center outside of the final side, turn those bulbs on, and you end up with something that looks like this right here. With this copper bulb placement, the light level will be above 0 everywhere, so other hostile mobs like skeletons will not spawn, but the light level will be below 7 everywhere, allowing slime to spawn all day and night long, as soon as we put a ceiling on this. And speaking of a ceiling, it is now time. Yet again, one more time, with blocks that will not let any light through at all, build a ceiling across the entire top of your farm. Oh, now aesthetically speaking, you use any block that you want, but I like tinted glass. I think it looks so good because then you can not only see into the farm from the outside, but I mean, Gosh, like I said, look at how good that beauty looks. Anyways, though, once you're said and done with all of that ceiling placing, you should have a farm that looks something like this. We've got a lot of light going on inside of this thing, but no spots that reach absolute zero. Now, if while building the farm at this point, now that we're fully dark inside of this thing, you take a step back, slime may begin spawning. But just walking away from this farm will not give you the ideal rates. Instead, what you're going to want to do is climb to the top of your farm, center yourself up over the iron golem, take a look at your Y coordinate, and add 111 to that number, go all the way up into the sky, and build a platform. You see, to maximize slime spawns inside of the farm, we need to get away from the caves under the ground. And to get away from the caves under the ground, 111. Now, of course, realistically, there are so many ways that you could go about achieving 111 blocks above the farm. Scaffolding is probably going to be the easiest way, though. Count out specifically 111 scaffolding beforehand, and then stand and span that stuff until eventually you use it all up. Eventually, after a whole ton of scaffolding placing later, you'll be 111 blocks up above your farm. Set up an AFK platform, however large or small that you'd like. Usually, I like to make my AFK platforms for farms like this, like a little bit sizable. Maybe I'll put like a bed up here, definitely a bed for sure. Then maybe like a crafting setup, whatever you want to do. With an AFK platform 111 blocks above the farm, if you look down at your thing, it should start to run pretty quickly. However, there is one more thing that you can add to your AFK platform to maybe maximize the rates. So, ideally here, you're going to want to AFK at this farm in the daytime. However, if your rates seem to be having a little bit of an issue, you can place a couple more scaffolding up on top of this platform, maybe like 10 or so, then ride your scaffolding all the way up to the top, stand up here for a second. Standing up here should give mobs that might be inside of some close surface caves a little bit of time to despawn. Then go ahead and climb back down off of your scaffolding and stand on the platform again. Effectively, what I did just then is reset all hostile mob spawns inside of my world. Now, AFK platforms and stuff, we'll come back to it because there is one final thing that I'd like to add to the farm all the way at the bottom of it. On the surface, on the outside of your farm, pick a side, any side, it doesn't matter, but line yourself up with the middle. So from this spot right here on the ground, we're going to go ahead and dig 8 blocks down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. After that, we're going to go ahead and start digging a hallway in towards the center of our farm. Eventually, once we reach the very center, the middle, on the ceiling, we should find a hopper pointing down that's perfect. Once we've done that, give me a second, let me clear out some space. Once we've made it to the center spot of our farm, but beneath it, on the ground, directly below where the hopper is, place a crafter facing out really any direction. Whatever direction it ends up facing, though, make sure the crafter is looking at a chest. Now, right on top of that crafter, connect your hopper and the crafter with one more hopper like that. Coming out of our crafter in the other direction of the chest, place a comparator down and tap the comparator one time to turn that thing on. Now, off to the side of this thing, like behind it, place a composter, spin around, and place a comparator going into your other comparator. Now, this is a little bit of redstone here for you, but this comparator needs to point into a solid block. Then right next to that solid block, we need redstone dust. That redstone dust is going to send itself into a redstone repeater, which last but not least will send itself into a solid block. Now, right now, our crafter should be powered. That's cool, but it's not right. Instead, what we're going to want to do here is over at the composter, build this composter up all of the way until it gets like the white specks on the top, but don't touch it then. Now, after that, because our crafter is probably loaded up with a bunch of random stuff, we need to remove the bunch of random stuff from the crafter. To make sure this crafter crafts slime blocks every time it's filled up, first empty the crafter. Next up, if you have any slime balls already, throw them inside of the top hopper, let the crafter load up, and check this out. As soon as it fills up, the crafter, because of the circuit we set up, will automatically condense everything down into slime blocks. This chest right here is going to be your pickup chest. Now, realistically, because of how crazy this stuff is going to condense stuff down, I don't really think you need to add more chests to the system, especially not right off the bat. But if you did need to, expanding this situation is pretty simple. Place another double chest off of the side of the thing, string more hoppers down into it, and slowly all of your stuff will keep funneling. Another thing you might want to do to make your life a little easier is in this hallway right here, maybe set up a ladder so you can get easily up and down, and maybe even optionally, if you're a professional, like light this hallway up, decorate it up, make it look real nice. And so, after you've done that crafter condenser, head back up to the top of the thing. On your AFK platform, stand around up here for a little bit of time, AFK, and watch that farm start to run and collect up slime balls. This is beautiful. Now on AFKing, a little bit more information here. Technically speaking, you could AFK through the day and through the nighttime. The slime will always spawn. However, if we're AFKing at this thing at nighttime, we are 111 blocks away from the farm. Well, we're also 111 blocks away from the surface. So ideally here, at nighttime, and make sure you jump into a bed and sleep so your farm will still run as efficiently. And that's where that extra scaffolding comes into play here. You see, if I forgot to sleep at nighttime, if I have extra scaffolding right here, I can climb up to the top of the scaffolding just a couple of blocks higher. And hopefully, this is going to be high enough and far enough away from the mobs on the surface for them to just instantly despawn. After that, I jump back off of this thing, stand up here, and the slime farm should kick back up pretty much right away. Now, over down inside of our farm, if I was to move down here and check it out, I may notice that a bunch of baby slime are piling up. Baby slime kind of have this tendency to bounce around. If I stood here for long enough, slowly, all of these slime will bounce up and fry up. But if it's bothering you, swap that sign out for a slab sitting right on top of the hopper. That might help your baby slime get fried up a little bit quicker, and items still should be picked up. But really, the baby slime shouldn't be that big of a deal. They won't hurt the rich that much. And so with that, you've done it. Your Minecraft 1.21 and up slime farm is finished. If you've got any questions about my design, go ahead and throw them down in the comments below or over on my subreddit, r/waddles. If you'd like to check out the farm up close and personal, remember, channel members, there is a world download of this exact world spiced up a little bit more for you. Check it out. It's on the community tab. As always, if you liked the tutorial, if it helped you out, check out my tutorial playlist. It's on the end card. Maybe there's another farm in there you've always wanted. And thank you all so much for watching and supporting. I wouldn't be able to make these tutorials without you. It's been me, Waddles. I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.